Today I want to share with you from a magnificent story in John chapter 4 about Jesus' encounter with a Samaritan woman. I hope you'll read through John 4, 5, and 6 today, but if you can't read all three chapters, please read the story in John chapter 4 of Jesus meeting this woman of Samaria at the well. It's a remarkable encounter for a whole lot of reasons, more than I can talk about in just a couple minutes. I want to highlight two verses towards the end of their conversation. Very quickly, Jesus is in Samaria. His disciples go into town to get food, to get lunch, and he meets this woman who's there by herself, which means she's a marginalized person. She's not there earlier in the morning when the other women are there. There is heartache and heartbreak in her life. Jesus speaks to her, even though a Jewish man at that time would not speak with a Samaritan woman. Especially in this kind of situation, one-on-one. And yet Jesus does, and he begins with a conversation about water, and then the conversation moves to deeper and more personal things. And part of what the woman does when she sees Jesus is perceptive and has spiritual insight into who she is in her life is she deflects the conversation away from herself to asking him a religious question about where people are to worship, because the Jews felt Jerusalem was the place to worship. The Samaritans felt that they had their own place to worship, and that leads to our verses of the day, John 4, verses 23 and 24, where Jesus says, "But the hour is coming and is now here, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father seeks such as these to worship him. God is spirit. Those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." So what is this saying? What is Jesus saying in this response to this woman? Well, first of all, is that true worship is internal. It's a matter of the heart much more than a matter of place. Jesus is not saying it's not so much about worshiping on this mountain or that mountain. It's an internal matter of the heart. And it's also about respect, admiration, and commitment to God. That's what our worship is about, much more than the place of worship, the forms that worship takes. And it's also, because it is internal, it's something, though, that is seen by God and cannot be hidden from God. So we want to worship God in spirit. We want to worship God with our passion, with our energy, with our emotion, with our soul. We want to be invested in it. And we also want to worship in truth, which is why we try to preach from the Bible and to be guided by the scriptures that we know we can trust and build our lives upon. But where we do that doesn't matter as much as how we do it, in spirit and in truth, a matter of the heart and the soul.